there's been a heavy dose of debate, as we've seen of late from various content creators and such, that are debating the merits of, Biden's reelection, Dr. Cornel West running in the Green Party, and where things lie in terms of, are the Democrats better than Republicans? I would surmise that the Democrats are better than Republicans, depending on where you are in the United States.
And where you are in the socioeconomic ladder.
If you're in the upper Midwest and you're looking at your neighbors to the west and what they have done over the past year in particular, with a very slim margin in the Twin Cities in terms of what you would think would be able to accomplish. And they've accomplished a lot. Something as simple as free student lunch, which is literally pennies in the bucket when you really get down to it. That the upper Midwest Democrats are better than Republicans, but that's a very, very slim amount of where other state Democrats, like our state and other states,
it's not good.
It's not good. And then at the federal level, it's really bad. But what we're going to do now is we're going to play a clip. And I think you know who Tim Gurner is. A lot of people are now finding out very quickly who this gentleman is, because what he actually represents is the voice of the ruling class. This is how they really feel about workers. This is not a one-off situation, because if it was, all of them in unison would be coming out saying, we don't think this way. We don't. The silence is what's deafening.
It speaks loudly.
They want it to go away quick.
Amen. Very loudly. And this is very much setting up for what could be one of the big, substantially effective strikes that we've probably ever seen, at least since the days of Reagan. So here we go.
I think the problem that we've had is that we have people decided they didn't really want to work so much anymore through COVID, and that has had a massive issue on productivity. Tradies have definitely pulled back on productivity. They have been paid a lot to do not too much in the last few years, and we need to see that change. We need to see unemployment rise. Unemployment has to jump 40, 50% in my view. We need to see pain in the economy. We need to remind people that they work for the employer, not the other way around. I mean, there's been a systematic change where employees feel the employer is extremely lucky to have them, as opposed to the other way around. So it's a dynamic that has to change. We've got to kill that attitude, and that has to come through hurting the economy, which is what the whole global, the world is trying to do. The governments around the world are trying to increase unemployment to get that to some sort of normality. And we're seeing it. I think every employer now is seeing it. I mean, there is definitely massive layoffs going off. People might not be talking about it, but people are definitely laying people off, and we're starting to see less arrogance in the employment market, and that has to continue because that will cascade across the cost balance.
Oh, I don't know who that is. I don't know anything about that man, but I gotta tell you, not a fan. I've never seen him before ever, but really, wow.
Let me tell you, he is the universal placeholder for all bosses. And the way to understand him, and somebody tweeted this the other day. They had the video up, and then they said your boss thinks this about you, and I think that's the important thing to understand is that in industry, and particularly among the investor class that drives industry, by the way, you can still have a decent person who owns a company, and there are some out there. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is that if you are an investor-driven company, right, and that's what this guy represents, what they're concerned about is massive profits. And if workers are making demands, if workers are just asking for a fair share, that's unreasonable. That's beyond what they can handle. And so he's stating, the funny thing about it is people have become very excited about this clip, inappropriately so because it's so blunt. But he's stating basic premises. Yeah. Of business. If you go to business school, you're going to learn stuff like this. You're also going to learn not to say it in public. But the fact is that I think it's great that you play that clip because we get a juxtaposition of the two things we're talking about right now.
Oh, yeah. I love it when the plutocrats say the quiet part out loud.
Yeah, but also that we're really on a knife's edge right now as a country. We already lost one of the biggest fights, and that was that during the pandemic, the response of the federal government, and this is Democrats and Republicans, conservatives and liberals, was socialism, right? They gave money to people They literally spent a lot of money to make sure that society survived. That is a social democratic response. That's not a libertarian response, right? And unfortunately, we've seen the government move back from that. We've seen, both political parties move back from a social democratic response. And so now we just got the report out on poverty in America. Poverty is shooting upwards. Child poverty has doubled over the last year. Why? Because they got rid of the programs that were actually working to reduce poverty. And that was mostly the Republicans, but a couple of Democrats, Joe Manchin, Kirsten Sinema, who's now an independent who sits as a Democrat. But remember, those people are still, Manchin and Sinema, still accepted within that Democratic caucus. And so they're literally impoverishing children in order to satisfy their campaign donors. And so, my friend, when you suggest you're a little cynical about whether the Democratic Party is going to come through at the level that it needs to, that cynicism is rooted in some realities here, and realities that are painful. So we lost that. We have, at least for the short term, lost an important battle, right? To maintain that level of social investment, that level of commitment that you saw during the pandemic. The question now is whether we're going to lose the battle of this low unemployment, high employment period, right? And what we got is a period now where workers can make demands, where workers can leave jobs and get other jobs. If we end up in a situation where the economy shifts some and workers are no longer making demands, right? We're gonna go right back to where we were before 2018, 2009, back to this 2018, 2019 point. And that's not a good point to go back to. As a society, we should be trying to make sure that our government is on the side of working class people to make sure that there is economic and social and racial justice. We should also have an arrangement, an organization of our economy that makes sure that workers can make demands, that they can make reasonable demands. And I really think we're in a moment that's going to decide which way we go on that. I think the UAW strike, if indeed it goes forward, is a huge part of that. I think with the Teamsters, the struggle the Teamsters had is a big part of that. And we should not forget the SAG-AFTRA and writers union strikes, which go to the heart of many of these issues. People who live their lives in a precarious economic situation. They don't have good, steady pay. They also now are threatened by AI technology and other changes. They are simply seeking to make sure that they've got a fair say, that they've got a place at the table, that they can have some guidance over the future of their industry. And we're going to be very focused on the UAW perhaps in the days and weeks to come. But we should never lose sight that SAG-AFTRA and the Writers Guild are out there fighting the same struggle, different industry, but the same kind of struggle.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.